would highly encourage you to make the connection between your organizational documentation, your mission statement, your strategic plans. That's where the arts need to exist and to really be defined as an arts organization. In other words, if we funded you, and the NEA does audits, right? They send me a list occasionally of, randomly they pick 12 of my recipients or 15 of my recipients or 6 or whatever they do. They just seem to pick them. And then they go to those folks and they say, who are you and why did you get funded? And if they don't find the appropriate documentation within who we funded, then that's bad for us. Because essentially what we've done is we've taken arts funding and given it to what apparently is not an arts organization. So what your primary goal here is to appear to be more of an arts organization in the structure of your organizational documents. I hear the intent, I hear the understanding. I don't see it physically here for us in terms of following federal and state guidelines on who we're funding. I don't see that here. And that's going to be where you'll run into a problem. So I understand that you understand the role of arts and culture, as I mentioned before. You need to fold it into this so it's really apparent that your mission statement says our intent is to like elevate the economic stature of artists by providing opportunities for them to have equitable housing and something like that, that you are invested as an organization to building that. Even if you're fiscally sponsored, at least in that situation, we have a non-arts organization that is lending their 501c3 umbrella to your organization. The missions align somehow. You know, it's really difficult. I don't know what Sustainable Seattle's mission statement is, but let's see. Because they do come back at us and say, you know, why did you fund these folks when there's a bunch of other folks that commit 24/7 to the arts and that's all they're about?
So I'm gonna ask to flesh this out just a little, tease this out a little bit more. So when you say arts organization, you're thinking like the symphony, right? Like where they're actually producing an art product. Is that what you're meaning by an arts organization? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I see what I'm doing. Sustainable Seattle. This link you sent me to is Sustainable Seattle. So BIPOC Sustainable Tiny Art House Community is a project of Sustainable Seattle. You're on their website.
So they have a program called Interweave. That is their fiscal sponsorship program. They have at least 10 to 15 organizations that they fiscally sponsor, and they provide all of us with a website under their umbrella.
Okay, and this is your website.
Yeah.
So when I click on our solutions, this is your solutions or their solutions?
That's our solutions.
Okay. I see. I see.
I think that probably what you're looking at is their logo in the top left. Is that so it makes it look like it's their website?
Well, when I went to About Us and Mission, I was actually going to Sustainable Seattle and not yours. So your stuff is all within this page here.
Right.
Okay, got it. Your values are integrity, authenticity, family, justice, hope. Your goals are provide BIPOC artists the ability to invest in long-term financial growth. Okay, that's good. Provide communities access to professional artists of color. Create business opportunities for these BIPOC. Okay. You're an arts organization, but you are
not clear.
Yeah, well,
you're not fiscally sponsored by an arts organization. You're an art organization yourself. Carol, BIPOC Stack. Do you guys? My question: do you have a BIPOC Stack? Is BIPOC Stack a 501c3? Carol,
is BIPOC Stack a 501c3?
Yes.
Under Sustainable Seattle.
Okay, but Sustainable Seattle is not a arts nonprofit. But if you had your own nonprofit status, you could be an artist nonprofit. It's just that what he's saying is you're
Exactly.
a fiscal sponsor is not an art nonprofit.
Exactly.
No, and this is fine. This what the mistake I made was I was going to mission to Seattle, Sustainable Seattle's mission and state and vision, not yours. But now I found yours, so you're sitting good here. So this works because Sustainable Seattle, when we do project support, the purpose for project support is to allow organizations that are not arts nonprofits to fund an arts project. And what happens when you're a fiscally sponsored group that is very clearly stating your commitment to the arts here, which I'm now seeing, then you are a legitimate project of the nonprofit that is not an arts nonprofit to manage an arts project, which would be you become the project of the fiscal sponsor. And that is completely in line because you're doing what the project has to look like, is it has to be in line with the mission of Sustainable Seattle. So I see all of this as working fine. So once we get project support again, that's when you can apply to get support through your fiscal sponsor for whatever it is you want to do. And those grants are usually about $5,000. The problem that we have is when are we going to be able to start doing our regular funding again? That's right now, I'm assuming, here's my goal. And one of them is that in terms of funding, one of them is that this initial round of ARPA funding has a very specific target, right? Do this thing. The second round, we're going to be a little bit more flexible. So we have another $1 million coming into the agency. That is going to be, again, pandemic related, but it's going to have a different tone to it. And one of the things that we're going to try to fund or want to fund is the development and establishment of new organizations to try and build more BIPOC organizations across the arts organizations across the state. So we're going to give them that foundational place to start building concepts of new organizations, especially in rural areas. The other thing is project support. What we're hoping is that as the pandemic eases up, we'll be able to support projects that are moving communities past the pandemic, you know, the initial emergency and into exactly what you're describing here, providing housing, providing access to the arts through placing artists in communities, providing economic development for artists. All those things are going to be key to pandemic relief. So what I would encourage you to do, and I'm thinking as I'm talking, is that as we launch these new programs in the beginning of the calendar year, that we talk then. And the problem is I haven't written the guidelines and shaped the program yet, but initially that is the impetus, is that funding new organizations so that we get more BIPOC arts organizations across the state, and then funding the return of folks into the community through elevation, especially of those most disproportionately affected, which is us, right? And so I would imagine at that point you're completely fundable. But it's going to be a while. You know, we got to get through the rest of this calendar year. We're almost done. We are in the middle of start right now, Restart Washington grants that are really complicated in terms of who's applying and sorting people out, and we're spending a lot of time with that. So as soon as we can get past here at the agency, remember we're a small staff. My program is 2 people, and you know, we have a lot to manage. So as soon as we can get past that, launch our new grants at the beginning of the year, that's when you and I should connect so that we can help shape your narrative, help work with your fiscal sponsor, and get you funded.
Wow, that's been so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful right now. Yeah, and even just the feedback around like our verbiage and all that stuff, that's been really helpful.
Yeah, you know, it's really important because all this funding normally comes from the federal government, or for culture, it comes from, you know, the lodging tax and all that stuff, right? It has these really annoying and complicated stipulations that we as program managers try to iron out so that you get the funding, right? but it's not always clear cut. And so what we'd like to do is have these conversations so that we can help you position your organization when you're so clearly invested in the advancement of the arts and artists and the what we call the creative economy. I see all of that here. You actually have done a pretty good job here. I wouldn't have any hesitation having a federal auditor from the NEA or whatever look at this, because I would back you 1,000,000% here. But it's when organizations just have that convoluted language because they try to do so many things, and it's always mission driven. It's always well intended, right? We want to do all of these things, but the language gets a little fuzzy, and then the funding ends up being fuzzy too. Having clear directives, point A, point B, point C, arts, housing, economy, whatever, really helps your funding.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
all
much.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel way better. Even understanding on what kind of, how that system is, yeah, great information for us.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna do my job. So, if you do have any friends over there at the Social Justice Fund, and BIPOC stack comes up in a conversation, please give us a thumbs up, because we would really, like I said, the $1 million grant would definitely help continue this project. So it's the Tenant Disparity Fund. So, I know this world is small, and you never know where your friends are. So if we do come up, just please say, hey, those people are great.
Well, Carol, what you guys are doing is really intense. It is great. What I would encourage you to do, and now that I've read your stuff here and I've heard you, this is a really amazing project. I'm sure you've spoken with Matt at the Office of Arts and Culture.
Yeah, we've been working with Matt. Well, I mean, he's not, how can I say this? Matthew has been aware and has come to numerous. We have bi-weekly community meetings. And so he's been invested at the very, very, very beginning and has been participating like maybe every other month in our bi-weekly meetings. And so, yeah, he knows, he's like on board.
Yeah,
This is really awesome.
Where exactly are you located? Are you in the Rainier Valley?
Yes.
Yeah.
Southeast Seattle, over by Holly, right off of Rainier, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We're hoping this can be, once we set that area off, the idea is that, because I've been thinking a lot about redlining and what happened and how Seattle is structured around redlining. And this is like the perfect model to be able to get communities of color into other neighborhoods in Seattle, right? You buy a house, you put tiny houses around it, now you've got a community of color.
Yeah, I need to go into another meeting here in a few minutes, but I want to leave with a couple of things. One is the Rainier Valley Creative District. The Rainier Valley has now been made a creative district. I don't know if you know ArtsWa at, yeah.
Yes, I do. She told me she was working on that. That's so cool.
They're a creative district now. So that is a really good launching point for you because, yeah, I would talk to her about how you can integrate this program into what they're doing there. I see it as a really good fit to gain support. And plus, once you start operating within that creative district program, you yourself get a leg up because you are now part of an initiative, right? So when you talk about funding, you're connected to something. You're connected to this initiative to reclaim the Rainier Valley for the people that were there, before the gentrifiers came in. So, I mean, you want to really connect yourself to that. The other thing is, I don't know if you've heard of Sawhorse Revolution. Yeah, Sawhorse.
We've had conversations with them as well. Their program is a little, it's different than ours in a lot of different ways, but I love the tools and the resources and the stuff that they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's great to partner with them or have conversations with them. But what I'd really like you to investigate is the support they get from the architectural firm that's helping them. I think it's something Cooey or something like that. But that architectural firm would be a great partner for you. They're well funded, of course. They're a bunch of architects, right? And they love funding projects like this, and they're very community oriented. I think they could be a really great asset for you. They're helping Sawhorse Revolution, Perkins Coie is what it's called. And I think that you should schedule time to talk to them about what you're doing. I think they would be really interested in that because they're really interested in the arts and they're really interested in building and training folks on how to do exactly what you're doing in terms of housing and building their own housing or having some involvement in architecture and design of some sort. So creative districts, and I'd talk to ArtsWa if you can, and then Perkins Coie or Sawhorse Revolution and talk to them. And there was one other thing.
I think it was the Department of Commerce, but I can't remember what you were saying the grant under them was.
Oh, yeah. It's just called Building for the Arts. If you Google Building for the Arts, Department of Commerce, you'll get that grant information. And you definitely want to talk to them, but there was something else. Oh my God. Sawhorse. Oh, sorry, it left my brain. But anyway, I think you're well positioned. I think it's going to be at the beginning of the year. As you're forming or changing or having discussions, I'm happy to meet up with you and keep you going along that line. I'm always available to you. Just, hit me up and we'll set up a meeting and I'll provide whatever information I can for you to get you prepared for hopefully getting you funded.
Thank you so much. We know you have another meeting, so we appreciate you spending this time with us.
Okay.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you so much.
Yeah, stay in
Great
touch.
meeting you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.